I want to give you guys a story about Jon to set the stage that I think will make sense. So, do any of you out here trade options, puts or calls? Anybody? I don't have a lot of hands here. I would say to you, one of the most important things you learn about is risk management, and you need to understand what Jon does, because I have never made more money other than structured finance, which I just do only with Jason and a few other people rolling. I've never made more money than using options. It's one of the coolest feelings in the world. But I'm going to talk to you about something, and then I want Jon to comment. And those of you who know Mark Cuban know that he sold his business, broadcast.com, to Yahoo, and he had a $2 billion position. And one of the smartest things that he did, I'm going to have Jon explain it to you, but this is something critically you want to know, you want to have it in your basket if you ever sell one of your companies to another public company. Jon, do you want to explain that situation with Mark?
So Mark was smart enough to know that he did, as you may already know, basically radio over the internet, because he loved the Indiana Hoosiers. He was a Hoosier, and he wanted to listen to the basketball games. So he created broadcast.com. For whatever reason, whoever the diseased, cretinous, whatever investment banker that talked Yahoo into buying it, they paid $2 billion for it.
They actually, I think, paid 5, but Mark's portion was 2, right?
Correct.
I think it was an absurd number for like radio over the internet. It was like absurd.
And a couple of years later, it was free. And they paid $5 billion for it. It's one of the many reasons that Yang and all the crew over at Yahoo, sort of
didn't work out.
Laughed at by many of us on Wall Street. But what Mark Cuban did, to Todd's point, was he bought a put option. What is a put option? A put option gives you the right to sell an asset at a certain price. So to lock in that $2 billion that he received, he bought a put option, which meant that he had insurance, just like when you guys buy a car. If you go out and drive your $100,000 Mercedes and you hit a fire hydrant or whatever, your insurance company will pay off the car after you've paid your deductible, whatever that was, $5,000, $500, whatever. Well, Mark spent that, $5,000, except different numbers, of course, on buying insurance on his Yahoo stock. The stock plummeted, partly because of bad decisions like that, and he was able to hold on to the bulk of that $2 billion, which otherwise would have quickly turned into, I think I did the calculation once, $100 million. That's how fast the stock fell to the bottom after, using its stock as currency.
His partner Todd did not hedge his position like Mark did. And Mark, obviously is worth much more than $2 billion today. But one of the things that's fascinating and why you need a guy like Jon Najarian is because not only did Mark buy puts, but he wrote calls to pay for the puts.
Yep.
And it's not as complicated as it sounds. And what Jon's firm does is simplify your ability to protect your portfolio. And I would tell you right now, if you have a portfolio of individual stocks or even S&P stocks or mutual funds, there's ways for you to use strategies that Jon teaches
to get hedged,
to really get an edge and really protect your portfolio.
You can also get that book. What we're looking for are large blocks of options, meaning that anybody in this room, even if you're a multimillionaire, you're not buying 35,000 options. Why is that? Because that represented about $500 million worth of stock that somebody was willing to buy. $500 million of this $192 stock. The biggest, I believe, brokerage, if you will, for digital assets in the United States, Coinbase. So they step in and they buy 35,000. That represents 3.5 million shares of this $192 stock. They did that the day of the election. What happened next? Well, stock popped all the way up to, went over $350 a share, from $190 to $350 in just days. Why did it do that? Because whoever was buying those calls was pretty damn smart. They had a pretty good guess that President Trump's going to put a crypto-friendly person in charge of the SEC instead of the type of person that has been the head of the SEC for the last 4 years, who resigned on Friday. Well, That's why this thing popped from down here on the far right side of the graph, far left side of the graph, from here all the way up to there.
If you guys pay attention to something John used to say, I've heard you say this now. I'm attributing a quote to you. I'm pretty sure it's yours.
Okay.
Which is, it doesn't matter what people are saying. It matters what they're doing. And John is telling you people spent a ton of money that are smarter than us, that know something's going on. It's not what they're saying, it's what they're doing.
This is the other one I'd really say. Michael Saylor is a genius. This guy has bought, I mean, Todd used to have a Bitcoin mining company.
Still do.
Still do.
Still do have 19,000 machines mining more than 34 million of Bitcoin a year.
19,000 machines?
I have a little more than 19,000 Bitcoin miners in Michigan.
Rigs, as we call them.
Michigan and Montana.
Where energy's probably cheap, because that's where you want it.
Energy's everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Saylor just bought another 51,000 Bitcoins for $4.6 billion. This guy has run this company like a Swiss watch. I mean, it's amazing how good he is at
By the way, that stock was 42 cents. He lost $6 billion in a single day, I think, in the last 20 years. And that stock has went from 42 cents to where it is today.
So that's MicroStrategy, MSTR. They came in and bought 3.1 million share equivalent through the options. Again, options, every option's for 100 shares. You get a lot of leverage with options. He bought 31,000 of those. And what happened? That was with the stock at 258. Whoops, wrong direction. There's the stock trading to almost 550 from 258. Doubled their money on $3 million share equivalent of these options just in days.
If you haven't done this before, you need to learn how to do it. And it's not for the faint of heart. You could really do something stupid if you don't pay attention to how to do it. And John will walk you through the whole process. If someone wants to use Market Rebellion and do the work, how big of a portfolio do they need to start with you?
If they just want to start trading, a little over $3,000. That doesn't go to me, that goes to whoever your broker is. Because you'll need to have a margin account, you got to have, I think, 2,000.
2,500, yeah.
2,500.
Or maybe it's 2,000, something like that, yeah.
But if you want to quit your regular job and start trading, you'd have to tell me how much do you want to make, because then I'll tell you how much you need in your account. Right now, my account is probably $11 million. And I turn it over every year and make literally hundreds of % on that. And I could show you how to do it too. Option traders that know what they're doing don't blow up. They just keep trading, 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 trading. Everybody's happy. A lot of these shops get people that blow themselves up just in a couple days or a couple weeks. And you don't want that. As a brokerage firm, you don't want it. As an educator, you certainly don't want it. But when I started, back in 1981, like I said, we traded about 400,000 contracts a day. When speed became the issue, in 1999, we started seeing, that number, 300,000 quotes per second. That's not the same as trading volume, but quotes per second. Now we're getting 11 million quotes per second. It's so fast, of course, you can't see either of those two. 300,000 or 11 million. So, for instance, options are now bigger than the stock market. This is according to Goldman Sachs. Goldman says that U.S. options surpassed stock market in trade volume in 2020, and now we dwarf it.
So we talked about John saying, pay attention to what they're doing, not what they're saying, right? So he will say to you that, Warren Buffett will say that options and things can be weapons of mass destruction, financial destruction, right? But why is it that one of the richest men in the world uses so many options? Isn't it weird that the guy is saying, hey, these are dangerous, but uses them? I mean, Warren Buffett is one of the biggest buyers of options. This guy is an animal with this. The smartest people in the world are doing the opposite of what you hear. That's why John's here. You guys have got to get to know this guy. I'm telling you, the strategies of you just going with the masses, just got to pay a little more attention, you can get an edge.
He's right. Look at that on the right side of the screen, folks. November daily option, 56 million options per day. Like I said, when I started in 81, it was 400,000. Now it's 56 million in November, but the daily average for the year, 48 million contracts. It absolutely dwarfs the stock market. That's what I used to do. We used to stand down there in the pit and yell and scream, buy them, sold, like that in the pits. Now it's all like this. It's like billions. Everybody's sitting upstairs pointing and clicking. Doesn't matter if it's BlackRock, Blackstone, Warren Buffett's people, whomever. They're sitting upstairs pointing and clicking. So for instance, Tesla, in October, Tesla was $249. Somebody stepped in and bought 20,000 call options. We tagged that for our subscribers, put it up on the site. They buy a bunch of calls. That's 2 million shares at 240. What's 2 million times 240? Well, $480 million worth of stock. Do you want to follow people that are putting that kind of money around? Because I do. Well, were they right? You tell me. Went from 249 to 321, in a heartbeat, just in a couple days. And then they weren't done yet. Elon, of course, Mr. Trump's best friend now, they step in again 3 days after the election, or 2 trading sessions after the election. And with the stock at 317, they double down. They buy 44,000 calls. That's 4.4 million shares of now a $300 stock. This is a $1 billion trade. Again, do you want to trade that? I do. What happened next? Well, I bet you could guess, but it goes to 348, from 317 to 348. And there you see this little graph over here on the side of it going, step, 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 all the way up like that. Literally hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in these trades.
Don't be emotional about option trading. Learn from the best. You have the best right here. Everyone, this is Jon Najarian, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go. Let's go. Give it up for Jon Najarian.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, my friend.